All right, well, it seems like we've got enough people in here so far to start. So welcome everyone to Steal These Ideas. It's an event where we're showcasing some of the top sales plays and prospecting tactics for reps today. My name is AJ Alonso. I'm one of the co-founders here at SD Revolution, the group putting on the event. And I'm going to be doing a bulk of the moderating for us today. We've got an awesome panel. You can see them here. They're all very smart. They're all very talented, and they've got some great ideas. Before I jump into introducing them, just wanted to give some context around what we're doing and why we think it's so important. The whole point of Steal These Ideas is it was born out of the idea that for SDRs today, it's really easy to get lost in sort of this sea of prospecting emails and phone calls and LinkedIn messages. So I went to Canva and I used my graphic design skills to create what I think will be the next greatest ocean/sea of our lifetime, the bad prospecting one. But really, people just complain a ton about all of the outbound messaging they're getting these days. And with the fact that we're working from home, it's just going to get worse. So I saw something recently that Colin Cadmus posted that really helped kind of formulate the base idea for this event about the self-starter as an SDR, remote sellers who actually deliver, the ones who can get it done on their own. And that's really the whole point of this event. The SDR self-starter who's innovative and trying new tactics to break through the noise and really rise above this sea of prospecting and get noticed. So we're highlighting those SDRs today. We're highlighting the companies that enable those SDRs today. And I think that this event is for everyone, really. It's not just for SDRs to see what other reps are doing and learn from them, but for managers and marketing people to see how other companies are positioning themselves. So if you're here today, this is a great opportunity for you to level up. And if you submitted something to us today, this is a great opportunity to get heard. So setting the tone for everything here, I'm going to jump into a panel introduction. I will start with the other co-founder here at SD Revolution, Grayson Fulbright. He's going to be acting as sort of color commentary today for everyone and more of the liaison between you guys, the panelists, and us up here. So Grayson, go ahead and introduce yourself real quick.
Hey everyone, Grayson here. So excited for everyone who's joining us today. And we've got a lot of different submissions from various industries that I think is going to paint an interesting picture of what sellers are doing today to really get prospects' attention and also get them and motivate them to take action. Like AJ said, I'm going to be more in the background, but I'm going to be heavily in the chats. So I'm wanting to start conversations in the chats. So make sure to introduce yourself if you haven't already. Please, if you have any questions, drop them, and I'll make sure to answer them. If we have enough time, we'll get the panelists to answer them as well.
Awesome. Next up, we've got Colin Waldrop. He's the SDR trainer over at SalesLoft, and this is like the third thing that Colin's been involved with over at SD Revolution. So he's a veteran here. Colin, what's your deal? Tell people about you.
What's your deal?
What's your deal, man?
First I'll start by just saying, like, super honored that you guys have me on this. I think this webinar specifically is really exciting because especially when COVID hit, I feel like there's been this sense of death by advice. Like everyone has figured out, here's how you should be selling during a pandemic. So there's a lot of webinars, a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. It's just, I feel like people just get tired of like being told how they should be selling. And so right when you guys brought this up of like, hey, what if we just stop telling people how they should be selling and just give them examples of what is working for other people? I was like, that is like what we need. And so super excited for this event. I think it's a really, really good idea. Started off at SalesLoft right out of college about 3.5 years ago, spent about 1 year and 7 months as an SDR myself, then went into SDR management where I managed SDRs for about 1.5 years. And then this February, I switched over to an SDR trainer specific role where I do a lot of the onboarding and ongoing training for our SDR. So this is something right up my alley, everything I love, messaging. So appreciate you guys having me.
Awesome. All right, we've got Monica Cottrell. She's a commercial AE over at Twilio, kind of started there somewhat recently. So Monica, tell us a bit about yourself.
Thank you so much, AJ. I am so excited about this. I actually had a pretty big career change about a year and a half ago. So just transitioning over to sales. And I think this is critical. Like stealing and sharing best practices are my favorite thing. And I remember Kyle Porter at Sales Loft said, you've got to learn faster than the rate of your own experience. And I feel like that has absolutely been my experience in sales. So I've been a professional ballet dancer. I was pre-med in college. I was a biology teacher, a high school biology teacher in the Bronx. I've done so many different things, and I never imagined that I would be in sales, but it is so much fun. And I encourage everyone to at least try it. I feel like it's the most exciting career because literally every day you're learning something new. So this is just really awesome. Thank you so much for asking me to be a part of this.
For sure. That's awesome. I had no idea you were a professional ballet dancer. We'll have to dive into that at some point. All right, last up, we've got Jeremy Levier. He's a global AE over at Lead IQ, really made a name for himself with the idea of unique and out-of-the-box prospecting tactics. So excited to have you here with us, Jeremy.
Yeah, thanks for having me, AJ. Yeah, hey, everybody. I'm Jeremy Levier, and I've been at Lead IQ for almost 3 years now, like a little bit over 2.5 years. Started off as an SDR for like 13, 14 months, a little over a year and a half as an SDR, where as an SDR, I won the Sales SDR of the Year award at the 10 Bound Sales Development Conference 2018. Booked 69 meetings in a single month, and then moved into an AE role. Been in that for about a year and a half now. And every quarter I've been over 100%, including closing a deal that's our biggest customer in just in the past month here. So yeah, I'm excited to be here. And if you follow my content on LinkedIn, I post a lot of stuff about different tips and tactics. So I'm really excited to kind of be like on the other side of this, instead of me posting, hey, here's some cool tips and techniques that I've been using and that are working. Like, it's really cool for me to be on the other side, judging and kind of like giving some analysis and thoughts and feedback on some of these other tactics. So I'm able to see what's working for other people. So it's really cool, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, happy to have all of you here as well. Before we jump into the examples, just wanted to give some context around, oh, that's you guys, the panel, the feedback. So like each example that we go through, we're going to try and make it as consistent as possible in terms of the feedback that the panel gives. They're going to talk about what they liked, what they didn't like, what they would have done differently, why they think it worked. Is this example replicable? Can you scale it? And any other lessons learned. And each panelist is going to have two that they're really going to dedicate some time to, but we'll open it up to each one to provide any insight and advice that the first panelist might have not covered. So a lot of examples, a lot of insight, a lot of advice coming your way pretty soon. Starting with example number one. This is from Nick Berger. He's an SDR over at Clary. This is a personalized email that he sent out. I will go ahead and read it real quick for you guys so you can understand a bit more context. But he says, hey, name, had to reach out when I saw that you're a Gryffindor. After this crazy year, I think we could all use some magic in our lives. As a Harry Potter fan and sales leader, I'm sure you'd love to have a mirror of Erised so you can see your sales teams closing all the biggest deals and hitting your forecast at the end of the quarter. That's what your peers love about Clary. They have instant insight into risk and upside in their pipeline so they can predict within 5% where they finish the quarter during week 1 of the quarter. I don't expect this to cast a spell on you right away, but would it be worth a brief conversation to see how Clary could support company? And he signs off, Nick Berger, Clary SDR, and Hufflepuff. So Monica, I'm going to pass this one off to you. Let's start by diving into what you liked about this message.
Yeah, thank you so much. So kudos, Nick. This is an incredibly personalized, also just like kind of quirky and fun email. I loved that there's a little bit of personalization. I love that there's specific to this person. So we've actually like dove into something specific about this person. I know if we don't find that, we always want to find something about the company or the industry. There's a really quick value prop and there's a specific call to action. So those are the things that I absolutely love. Definitely kudos to Nick for this incredible email.
Yeah. And I think it speaks to the fact that like you can find just one thing about your prospect that they are passionate about and turn it into a great email like this. It doesn't take, hours of research. Like you might have found that he liked Harry Potter in a minute and then bang, this email pops out. What would you
Yeah,
have
it's funny.
done? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I
I was
knew
just
about
going
the
to
other
say my
delay.
very first sales manager at Sales Loft, Danny Garcia, was famous for a Harry Potter email that got him like a huge opportunity. So I also just love the Harry Potter personalization.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
and you
very
can
much
scale
so.
that because you could save that, if that guy Danny had a bunch of different Harry Potter emails, because I mean, a lot of people, I never really got into Harry Potter, but a lot of people are really big fans. So you could scale this same email. You could kind of save and save it in SalesLoft so that the next time that comes up, you just click the button and then boom, you can send that out to other people as well. So that's cool too.
For sure. I was going to ask, do you think this is something that you could replicate and scale out? And obviously, Jeremy, you think it is, but Monica, do you think that, this is a template that you would be able to use more than once?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think it's personalized. When we see the dynamic fields, like there's things in here that we can use within our sales engagement platforms. Really talking about unique challenges is like where you can actually make it more unique.
Mhm.
But there's the value prop and the ask, which I think is absolutely great. So yes, 100% it's scalable.
So you would just change like that portion where he says like that's what your peers love about Clary. Insert something here. You would maybe just tailor that a bit to the persona if it's a different title. Calling you look like you have something you want to say.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of like really small things in here that I love as well. So like one, just saying that's what your peers love about Clary. So like kind of building that credibility that you're working with your peers is just this small thing. And then the big thing is that there's no like, you're not throwing features and here's exactly what we do. Like in the second paragraph, there's like, I bet you would love to blank. And then at the end, like, that's what we do. And like, it's that simple. You don't have to describe everything your product does. It's just saying, I bet you'd love to do this. And then saying, we can help you do that. And that's the simplest way to get your value prop across. And I really like how they did that.
That's awesome.
I think the specific like Gryffindor example is not scalable, but the idea behind this is really, really scalable. I mean, you could have someone who has a favorite baseball team and say, I bet you'd love to know where you're going to like end up at the end of the season. And then you can kind of put everything from, I bet you'd also love to see, see your sales team closing all the biggest deals. Hitting, like you can make the connection. You just have to find out like what they're interested in and then make the connection to Clary. So it's scalable in that way. And I think that's really unique.
Yeah.
One thing I would just kind of add, I mean, this is like it's an A email. I mean, this is obviously like a really good cold email. Only thing I can think of really of how it could be better is when he says that's what your peers love about Clary, like maybe just being a little bit more specific there. Like if you're on that person's LinkedIn profile, or like you could do it at the account level, but also the contact level. So this company they're reaching out to, maybe there's competitors that are using their product, or their peers, like name dropping a couple of their customers that are in a similar industry and similar like company size to this company reaching out to, or even on the contact level. Your peers like name drop another VP of sales who is a customer that, just maybe they're a mutual connection, or even if they're not a mutual connection that you have with this prospect, but just name dropping a couple companies or even specific people to give it a little bit more credibility there. Because otherwise they're like, yeah, sure, yeah, my peers love Clary. Okay, yeah, right. Like who like me in a position like me.
Just some
that's
truth.
the only. Yeah, exactly. But other than that, like really, really good email.
Nice.
Yeah, I honestly don't have anything that I didn't like. The one thing that I would have done differently, and it's literally just like fine tuning, which is I love the sentence about the peers, but I would just focus in on a hypothesis based on what you know about this person's business, their industry. Like, what is a challenge that they're having, and how is Clary going to solve that problem? it's just digging a layer deeper than, hey, everybody loves Clary. Why? Why do they love Clary? Why is that going to be important to me? Why do I need to get on the phone with you? Because there is an ask. And so we need to have a very clear why. That's the only thing that I would change, is just a minor tweak and fine tuning and digging a layer deeper to
Nice.
figure out why.
Love it. Awesome. Well, I think a lot of lessons learned here. You can always go a layer deeper, even if your email isn't a email like you guys were saying. You can take it to that next level. The next example we have is also an email, another personalized message. This one from Megan at SalesLoft. So, Colin, I'm going to have you take this one because of the obvious connection there. But I labeled this one personalized persistence, mainly because the example also came with the reply, which was a meeting booked saying that, thank you for your persistence. So I'm guessing this isn't email number one in the sequence. It's probably after a few tries to get in touch with this person and they decided to embed some personalization. So the email goes, how does someone go from a playwright to an IT recruiter to a scouting analyst to a sales analyst? Bet you don't run out of subjects to talk about around a dinner table. Funny enough, our sales team brought in a playwright and improv coach to help us on cold calls and cold emails, and it's been the best learning experience of my life, so I can see why you're successful. To get to the purpose, when you're writing a play, you don't want the audience to predict the ending. That is not the goal in sales. Creating consistent, predictable processes and forecasting is the name of the game, and that's what our solution helps with. How can I earn 15 minutes over virtual coffee to share the business case that I've built out for your team? Best, Megan. So, Colin, like I said, I'll let you take this one away. What did you like about this email?
Yeah. So the methodology she used for this email is kind of what we use is why you, why us, ask for time. Like pretty simple. So like in the first sentence, can you let them know that an email was written just for them? And sometimes that can be difficult. So like I remember this prospect and account, like there was nothing in Salesforce, like no past opportunities, no past activities for us to go off of. They weren't hiring on their careers page, which is where we get a lot of good information. So like in our research workflow, she had gone through all these steps and she's not finding anything. And then the next step in this research is, well, look at their career progression on LinkedIn, see if you can make anything out of that. And then that's where we found this. So just like, okay, they've had a really unique
it's a good
career path. And so like, let's put that in there and make sure they know, like, we've done our research on you. It's like great career path. And so I thought how they structured the why you, why us, ask for time was really good. As far as the ask for time, I love kind of the phrase of like, how can I earn 15 minutes of your time? Like, not assuming that I've already earned it. Like just because I did a little bit of research on you doesn't mean I've already earned 15 minutes out of your day. And so it's kind of this humble ask of like, hey, like I'm still willing to work for this. How can I earn that time? And I really kind of like that humble ask for time. And then same thing as I said about the Clary email. I love when they're not pitching their product in an email. They're saying, here's the problem that a lot of people have, or here's the desire they have, what they're wanting to accomplish. We help them do that, or we help them overcome that. And you don't have to give all the features and everything. And so I really like how we didn't go into any feature pitches or anything here. The only other thing I'd say, the area for growth on this is even when you write a really, really good email, there's always an opportunity to sit back, read it, and then ask yourself, is there anything I can take away from this email that will make it shorter, but it will not impact the quality of the email? And so when I read this back, or when I hear you read it back, you know, I like the line of, I bet you don't run out of things to talk about around a dinner table, but it's not really needed. And if we took it out, this email would have the same impact. It would just be easier on the prospect because they don't have to learn as much. So why not roll right into the second sentence? And so I would take some of the things like that out to make it shorter and more concise. But altogether, really, really happy with this for what she had at her disposal.
Yeah. Jeremy, Monica, I'll let you guys jump in. But I would say I agree with you. I think the best tool that a lot of SDRs can use when crafting an email is the delete button. Like if you can somehow make it more concise and make it more to the point without having to go on and on about something like you were saying, your product or whatever, you're going to be better off for it. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think I like how it's a smooth transition from, the personalization part about being a playwright, and then relating that, they're being relatable and relating it to, I like that second part of the transition, how they brought in a playwright, an improv coach to their sales team, like relating it, back and showing some commonality there, and then transitioning from that to the value prop. So, I think it was a smooth transition, all three of those. Only thing that maybe could be improved upon, I think, is maybe like and this is maybe by design. I kind of, it's like a good and bad, like that the value prop is kind of vague. Like what SalesLoft actually does, you can't even really tell, and like I kind of dislike that, but I kind of like it as well. It's like it just piques their curiosity. You're gonna maybe pique their curiosity to like, like consistent, predictable processes, forecasting. Okay, like what do you mean by that? But then you also are also kind of piquing their curiosity. I like this with share the business case that I've built out for your team. Yep. So that's showing like I'm not just like, I didn't just send out a bunch of random template emails and you're just one of 100 people. Like I actually, before I spent a bunch of time, I spent some time and like did some research and built out a business case for your team. And, are you open to like hearing what that is? So I like that call to action there too. Just like the vague value prop, like it's maybe good and bad, and also maybe kind of took a while to get to the value prop, because it's at the end. But overall, yeah, I think it's a really good email.
This email reminds me so much of some of the first feedback I got from Will Bracewell, who was my manager when I was an SDR at SalesLoft. He's like, it's super easy to find, well, not super easy. It's easy to find something personal about someone. The challenge is making it relevant to why you're reaching out to them. And Megan does an incredible job of that. While it is a bit wordy, I think she could take out at least two. Looked it over, like I see 2 or 3 sentences that could be taken out of the email. I can tell, I've never met Megan. She's very intentional. She was very thoughtful about what she was writing and really wanted to make sure that the prospect knew that. And I think the end of I've built something out for you is like, I actually believe her. Right. Sometimes people will say something like that and you're like, sure, whatever, you're just mass blasting this email. But it's like, she's taken the time, she's like looked at my career path, she's taken some time. And so I truly believe, so she does an incredible job of building trust and really being authentic here, and also making that personalization relevant, which I think is hard. For sure. A lot of people will just say, hey, go football team or go college team. We went to the same college, moving on to my value prop. And there's not really much skill in that. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely kudos. The only thing to tweak is get rid of the unnecessary sentences.
Yep. Nice. Some of the questions I saw pop up in the chat is one, what was the subject line? Which is a great call out, because subject lines are kind of the unsung hero of emails, because you're not going to get a reply if they never open it. And so really, really good question. I forgot what it was. If I had to assume what it was, looking at this, I would imagine it would be playwriter and then the little like arrow, IT recruiter, arrow, and then sales ? So that you kind of listed out their career path. Same thing applies with the why, like with the YU, the first sentence, you want them to know it's written just for them. You need to do that with the subject line too. Like they may not even open this if it was a generic subject, like a generic subject line of SalesLoft plus company. Like that.
Yeah.
You gotta let them know from the subject line that it's personalized. Another question was, where did this fall in the strategy? Like, and the way we did it was, this is always our first touch, a hyper-personalized email. So it's a pretty time-consuming touch, but what actually got this meeting was the end thread. So they opened this a lot, and then they didn't respond. And then we had an end thread where we said, hey, did you get a chance to read that last email? And then that's what they actually responded to. But we're willing to write emails first with a lot of research, because it also makes our phone calls stronger. But we don't need to get into that. But yeah, this is our first.
All right. The next example, we actually have a live submission here. Kyle Van Voris sent this my way, and he should be in the audience. And Alex, I'll give you an opportunity to kind of cue him up. But this is a very hyper attention grab sort of play that he's developed. in which he identifies some broken links on a website and then uses that to his advantage to leverage it into an ask. So Alex, whenever you have a minute to pop Kyle in, he
I've
can
made
give
it.
some context. Oh, he made it. Sweet. So Kyle, I'll let you provide some context behind this process. And then Jeremy, I'll let you kind of tackle this one after he gives some context.
Awesome. Yeah, happy to walk through this. First of all, for those of you guys like myself who've been doing this for a long time, I'm always impressed at the bar of email and like any type of messaging that keeps getting sent out. The last 2 emails we looked at were phenomenal. And I remember, gosh, when I was an SDR, they were like, hey, we want to test email. Would you like to be in the testing pod? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So it always like impresses me when I see like just the level of the bar going up and up and up. Hopefully we're up there with them. This is kind of an off the wall technique. One of the challenges with personalizations is if you can't find anything. So when you work at a company where you sell to people who are very active on LinkedIn or social media, typically you could find something, but there are cases when you can't. So what do? Well, what I started doing a little while ago was actually checking the entire website of a company for dead links. And there's a website that you can use. You just put the main URL in and it'll check all of their pages for dead links. And dead links are typically like if you were to hire an SEO agency, for example, they would constantly check for dead links. That's a bad experience for customers, for prospects, but also it actually could hurt your SEO. So there's a lot of reason why you want to be on top of your dead links. So I'll use deadlinkchecker.com, check the whole website, grab the dead link and say, hey, prospect, I found this dead link. I'm just trying to be a good person and draw it to your attention. Also, why don't you and I have a conversation about X, Y, and Z? Kind of based on this premise. I'm not going to invent need with my messaging, but I can at least do whatever I can to get a response. And that's the strategy here.
Awesome. So Jeremy, what do you think of that? You a fan? You not a fan?
Yeah, so I really like it because number one, it's personalized, very hyper personalized because it's their website. You were able to find these dead links on their website, and the prospect isn't going to necessarily have to know. You kind of have this tool, this dead link checker. They don't have to know that. To them, they're thinking, oh wow, what did this guy like go through like every single page on my website, and like so that's really good, like showing that kind of effort and personalization and its value. You're making a deposit, you're not just like asking for time, you're saying this is a way like you're actually adding value by saying, hey, this link on your website, like it goes nowhere, you can fix it, and you're bringing that to their attention. So I really like that you're bringing value. And I also think you can kind of scale this as well, because you just bookmark that dead link, that website, you have it bookmarked on your computer, and then at any time you click the button and pull it up, throw in any website, boom, and then you're done. And then a couple clicks, you have the link, and then you can send that email pretty quickly, so you can scale it. So those are all things that I really liked. One thing that I'm not sure about, I feel like this only would apply, and you can, certainly chime in, Kyle. I feel like this would probably only apply if you're selling to marketers, right? So that's the only kind of question I have is maybe some of these people that are on this, if they sell, to chief information security officers, or if they're selling to, somebody who's not in marketing, or, maybe somebody who's like a sales leader. But if they're not in sales or marketing, like if they're in HR, they're not going to really care about this. So that's the only thing, I guess it maybe just only applies if you're selling to marketers.
I think for the most direct application, you're 100% right. One thing that we find is when you're working with multiple contacts within one organization, what we're finding is because it's a lot harder to get to the target, you can leverage other people who are more attainable. So like, let's say you're going after a company, no one's active on LinkedIn except the CF. It's like, well, I sell to the salesperson or whoever. You can actually get the attention of the CFO, start a conversation there, leverage that relationship to get to other parts of the organization. So you're right, it really does directly apply only to marketers, but we have used it in other cases to try to build a general awareness within the sphere of influence.
Cool.
Nice. Colin, Monica,
Yeah,
you guys have something? Oh, go ahead.
Go first.
I love this. I I just saved this link. I think the biggest challenge is knowing when to use it. You know, when is it appropriate to use this? And I would say if I were using this, I would want to make sure that I tied the dead link to whatever it was I was talking about. You know,
Mhm.
maybe it's something on their page that they're talking about, you know, now they're offering new services. Well, how does that impact where and create another hypothesis and a challenge. So again, it's just taking it a little bit deeper or to the next step in giving a clear understanding instead of being gimmicky. You know, I would hate for this to come off as a gimmick because I think it's very thoughtful. Um, and in order to ensure that you know, what my intentions are, I want to make sure that they've seen, hey, this is why this is relevant to you and to the conversation that we're having. Otherwise, it can be just um, it could rub me the wrong way if I were receiving it like, okay, cool.
Absolutely.
How does your value prop have anything to do with this? You know, so I think just making those two connections is essential to this use case. But I think it's awesome and very creative. So awesome, Kyle. I just saved the link.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jeremy has a point. This is a little bit company specific. Like, I'm sure there's people on this call that are like, well, I could never send something like that. But the takeaway, like what I take away from this, and if you sell something completely different, is what are the things that my prospects and my prospects companies put out there that I can leverage like this? And so, like, there are companies who build websites where they, I saw an example on LinkedIn where they would go on the website, screenshot it, and they would pick something like the way their buttons on it are laid out. And then they would provide data saying, hey, if you lay them out horizontally along the side, you get X amount more engagement with them or something like that. But you take their own website, you know, for companies that help teams with inbound follow-up process. It's like, you know, I've seen them go inbound, see how the company responds, and then send them benchmarks like, hey, here's how your team responded to an inbound. Here's best, you know, like best practices. So what is that for your team? Like, is there anything where like your prospect's website, your prospect, where like they're putting something out there where you can take it and say, hey, like, here's what you're doing now. Here's how I think we can help. Do you have that route for your company?
That's awesome. It's actually a fantastic segue into the next example. And Kyle, thank you again for popping on live and giving some context behind your example submitted here. But Colin, you brought something up about like having a company go onto your website and physically show you how to improve or how to make something better. It's actually the entire point of the next example. I am the target of this prospecting campaign. It's from Client Boost, Kyle Long over there. He sent me a cadence of emails all about sort of delivering value in the sense that you were talking about. So I've got screenshots of the emails here. I'll go through them very quickly for you guys, but it starts with, howdy, AJ. I found 3 conversion rate opportunities on your homepage. Can I make a quick video to show you, basically? I didn't respond, so he followed up with that video where he did exactly like what you were talking about, Colin. Went through the website sort of page by page and identified different opportunities to improve our CRO. And then, you know, let me know, saw some opportunities, let's have a call. Followed that up with more collateral for me. So he, you know, what he talked about in the video, they had already written some articles and published some papers on. So he linked those for me. And then finally, at this point, I wanted to get back to him. I just honestly didn't have time. So he asked to bribe me to watch the video. So he said, I will literally email you a prepaid link for Pop Secret popcorn. I'm not joking. Popcorn goes great with video watching. So obviously at this point, I got back to him. I had already watched the video. I didn't want his popcorn. It was a very generous offer, but I had watched the video. I decided to take a meeting, and he then followed that up because I didn't take the popcorn with a gift. He actually sent me 2 White Paw, which are little like squeaky dog toys that look like White Claw seltzers, but they're for dogs. My dog loves them, by the way. And he sent them. He, you know, said he was excited to chat. Here's a little gift for Frankie. It's my dog's name. So he did some personalization research on me. So the whole thing was a really great, in my mind, delivery of value, omni-channel through email, video, gifting, the whole thing. So Monica, I'll let you kind of give your thoughts on your take on the cadence, but I wanted to get my 2 cents in first because I was the target of it.
Yeah, that is awesome. I I loved that first cliffhanger, the teaser. It's like, hey, you're only going to find out what these things are if we talk about something or send over the video. That was probably my favorite aspect of this. I thought that the the popcorn was pretty cool. I think my only challenge in that particular email is how is that relevant to the story that we're telling already? Again, it's literally just taking it and connecting the dot because I thought it was really fun. Again, my fear is coming off gimmicky. You know, you don't want to just say, hey, I'm just flashing lights over here. What is the deeper purpose of this? Because ultimately, like, hey, we've used Sendoso, Alice, like all these types of things to get people to engage with us. I sent a carrier pigeon one time, so I totally get like, let's do something a little bit different. I think, yeah,
Wow.
like a legit pigeon, like a real pigeon. But what I'm saying there is the challenge of connecting the dot is like, let's make sure that this still has something to do with the story that we're telling.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I thought it was an absolutely incredible. I think that there was one thing in there that says there are some opportunities. Maybe you could be more specific to say like, hey, what are you solving for? But I honestly loved the teaser of it. So you know, I don't think that there's a negative to that because the teaser was really strong.
Jeremy,
Oh,
Colin, sorry, go ahead, Monica. I'll let you finish, Monica.
oh no, it's totally fine. I was gonna say I don't know if anybody wanted to add anything before I say what I would have done differently.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really good, the persistence and like continuing to add value, and the personalization. I like the video going on their actual website, your actual website, and pointing out, actual places where there's room for improvement with like conversion optimization and stuff. I mean, all that is like really, just textbook prospecting. So definitely kudos to Kyle here. Obviously, it worked. You got the
I took
meeting.
the call.
Two things that I wasn't sure about. One, I mean, it's something really small, but when you put your name AJ, the J is lowercase. I mean, it's something very small, but you don't spell AJ that way, right? You put
I do not know.
Yeah. So I mean, it's almost like he's kind of spelling your name wrong. I mean, it's something small, but it might be, maybe he kind of was, it might be like just like part of a mail merge, if like it didn't carry over correctly, the right way of your name. And then one other thing, one of those emails had what, like 3, 4, maybe even 5 links.
This guy here,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, this is just a little too much, I think. Like, that's just too many calls to action. Like you're throwing too much. It's like you're just throwing spaghetti at the wall, and hopefully
Mhm.
one of those things sticks, and hopefully one of those links you'll like and will have some value. I'm just throwing it all out there. Maybe just stick to one asset or one link. But other than that, like really good sequence here that he put forth.
Yeah, honestly, go ahead, Colin.
Really quick for me, the big takeaway for me for this is just the persistence of it. I mean, prospects are just so funny. I mean, he's prospecting you. You clearly are very impressed by these emails, so much so you're using it on a webinar, but it took like 4 for you to respond. Like you are
Right.
clearly impressed and you didn't respond. And so I think it goes to show like you can write a really good email. And it's just like you didn't get the response. It's just like the persistence is what pays, because now this person's building groundswell. Like you may have sent this email to one of your colleagues or talked about it over lunch or something, like, oh, I got this really good email today. You're still not responding for some reason.
Right.
But at some point there's a time where like you think to yourself, you're like, you know what, this person deserves a response. Like they've done a really good job staying on top of me.
Mhm.
And I feel like some people just challenge you like that. So the idea of just persistence and staying on top of it is just huge here.
For sure. Yeah, Monica, I'll let you finish it off. What you were talking about, what you would change, if there's anything else you wanted to add.
It was very similar to Jeremy's call out. The info dump is something that I think is, I know I've been guilty of that. And I'm actively working on this right now to take, never just sending someone a link, send them a clip of a video, the clip of the video, or the one sentence in that article that they should read, or that one quote in that blog post that they should read. Take that extra step to just go into why would that person want to click on the link. I see 6 different links. I don't care about any of them because I don't know how any of them relate to me specifically. So I think that's always the challenge, and it's honestly something that I'm working on right now. I'm using, and anybody who's using SalesLoft, create snippets based on personas with articles, with blog posts, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time, but you could at least take the time 5 times to do it per persona and then save them and use them in the future. I think honestly that's something that I'm doing right now as I'm new, so I'm still getting used to assets to share and things to share, but you always want to just take that extra step.
That's a great point. Yeah, like the value you deliver really should be as focused as possible. Awesome.
Yeah, and I like how the Frankie, is Frankie your dog, AJ?
Frankie
Here's a little
is my
something
dog.
for Frankie from, how does he know that?
I have it public. I mean, it's like
Oh,
probably
okay.
it's
It's
on my
right.
LinkedIn. It's probably
is,
on my
okay.
Twitter. Yeah, it's
Oh,
not like
okay.
he got some personally identifiable information out of me.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Yeah, that's a cool personal touch though, you know, and then chew responsibly, you know. Yeah, this is some good stuff.
Yeah. All right. The next submission we have is actually not just a combo submission, but it is also another live one. So Alex, I will have you pull Trey up when you can, because I believe he's in the audience. But this is sort of a combination between Trey's example and Marcus Chan's, utilizing LinkedIn in video. So I called it research timing and the GDP method. GDP does not stand for gross domestic product. It instead stands for gratitude, deposit, personal. So the message you see here is actually Trey's that he sent out via LinkedIn. And then I'll loop that into Marcus's after he comes on and sort of talks about it a bit and gives some context.
So yeah, I can kind of give a little background.
There he is. Hey, Trey.
Hey guys, what is up? So this was sent via LinkedIn connection request. Now, typically, I know it's not, best practice to try and connect to get a demo on the first connection request, but I think there is some good benefits to doing that, especially the character limit, right? Consistently a theme we've seen through the last couple emails is like shorter is better. And so doing the connection request does really force you to shorten your sentences, force your content out. And so here, Bonsai sells audience AI generation tools for webinars, basically. And so, my typical persona that I reach out to are marketing folk, typically people on the demand generation side. So, what do they care about? Trying to boost webinar registrations. And so my easy go-to thing is I find a company that is hosting a webinar in the next couple weeks, go to Sales Navigator, boom, here's my 2 or 3 titles that I'm looking for with the right person, and then send them almost this exact message every single time. And it converts pretty well. It's simple of, hey, so you guys are having a webinar next week. I know, basically you're responsible for driving attendance. We drive net new prospects to webinars, virtual events. Would love to connect if you're looking to boost your registrations, right? And it's simple, to the point, and it's all focused on them, right? Outside of the, hey, here's what we do, but what we do is exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, I've got proof here that it worked. But Jeremy, I'll let you take away or give some context behind what you think of this message in general.
Yeah, I mean, I really like it because it's obviously personalized. You saw that they're doing a webinar or a virtual event and you're saying, hey, I can drive traffic to it. So it's obviously very targeted and personalized to that person, and you're providing value. And it's almost like one of those, calls to action that, sometimes like one thing I try to do with messaging is like I try to make it painfully obvious to that person that in their head psychologically the prospect is thinking, okay, I'd have to be stupid not to, not to take you up on that offer. Like, no, I don't want more registrations from a webinar. Like, come on, they'd have to be stupid. And so, that is good messaging, and so that's all good stuff. Couple questions that I have though, in terms of feedback is like, logistically, like one is, how are you seeing, you said, hey, anytime I see somebody is doing a webinar or virtual event in the next 2 weeks, how do you know? How do you, like, do you have some magic way? Are you just kind of sitting there on LinkedIn all day, hanging out, like just chilling on LinkedIn, like looking, and checking out all these marketers? So, and that's one thing. And then two is, how do you scale it with, do you kind of just, you say you pretty much take that same message every time? Do you just like literally like copy and paste that message and then just switch out the person's name and switch out the name of the event that they're putting on? So I guess I'm just kind of curious, like those two things logistically, how to actually be able to execute something like this.
Yeah, definitely. At first finding the events was a little bit difficult, but I found there's multiple avenues that are pretty easy for that. On the connections like tab on LinkedIn, in your network section, if you like scroll down halfway, at least on mine, all it is just events, and it's like LinkedIn posted events or people that want to publish their events on LinkedIn. So right there, it's just like a huge database for me, as well as classic Google searches, right? Company X, Y, or Z is on my target list. XYZ webinar, boom, right there. And then there is the classic doom scrolling of LinkedIn. Oh, hey, Jeremy just posted about X webinar, which is even better than, right? Hey, Jeremy, so you posted about the webinar next week, let's chat. So just kind of a combination of all three of those things. And then in terms of copy paste, I used to do a lot more copy paste, but I think with the character limit, it's better if I type it out because I can slightly change my phrasing, wording, or, includes specific details here and there. Which, it doesn't take that long to type 160 characters, right? Maybe it is faster to do the copy paste method, but slightly changing the phrasing or adding specific details, I think boosts the conversion rate for me.
Nice. Colin, Monica, do you guys have anything you want to talk about for Trey before I kind of loop in the next example into his?
Yeah, I love this. I think one cool thing about this is I can have all the opinions in the world, but Trey, you got a meeting off of this. So who am I to tell you to do anything different? What you did 100% worked. But if you go back to the previous slide with the messaging, a lot of the first touches for me is like, I think the most important piece is like, can I drive dialogue? It's not so much maybe about the meeting. And so for here, it's like, what I love is that it's personalized. Like, hey, I saw that you're having, I saw your post about your event on Thursday. So like they know it's just for them. And then like one thing I've always loved about any event is giving like a specific, like one of the things I'm looking forward to on it is blank, or one of the things I loved from the event you hosted was blank, and like give them like they are investing their time into this event. So don't just say, about the event, like appreciate something they've put their time into and like mention something specific. People have always appreciated that. And then almost instead of going into the My Startup Bonsai, like just be like, ask the question you probably want to know of like, hey, I'm curious, how's your team blank? And just leave it at that and see if they just start talking to you about it. Because you're going to have emails and other touches to follow up that you can drive home the value of Bonsai. But can you start a dialogue over LinkedIn rather than their kind of like the signal going off of like, oh, this person's like selling me. Either way, this works. It's incredible. I love it.
Did work.
I love that we're talking about LinkedIn. I know that Morgan Ingram posted, I don't know if it was today, I think it was yesterday, about the power of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. And so when Jeremy asked, how are you finding out about webinars? I think it's just a reminder, if people are not leveraging LinkedIn Sales Navigator for searches or, getting notifications. I mean, this is an incredibly powerful tool to engage with people that are engaging and putting information out on LinkedIn so that you can find out and send them something valuable instead of spending precious time searching. I think that there's some massive power in leveraging LinkedIn Sales Navigator or just LinkedIn as a tool for prospecting. And so I'm really glad, Trey, that you brought this example to the table. And kudos for your creativity.
Awesome.
Trey, just real quick, if someone doesn't respond to this, because this is a connect request note, right? Usually, if they don't respond, are you sending a video after that if once they've connected with you and haven't respond, like a LinkedIn video?
So I haven't been using the native function on LinkedIn, but I do send a lot of drift videos. And it's kind of 6 in one, half a dozen in the other with this message, like if it's a first touched drift video or if it's this text message that comes in first. But every time if they accept the request and don't respond, they're getting a customized drift video for sure. Probably a follow-up one a couple days later as well.
Okay, cool.
Colin, you are the king of segues today. And Trey, thanks again for popping on. But the next example was actually Marcus Chan's, and it's specifically about LinkedIn video, native LinkedIn video. More specifically, he's seen a ton of engagement natively on the LinkedIn video side of things versus like Drift or Loom or whatever you might be using. But his process is basically Trey's, but instead of sending a text message, you send a blank connection request, and once they accept it, you use the GDP method, the what I talked about before, gratitude, deposit, personal. So record a video, really simple. Just thanks for accepting my request, means a lot to me. The reason I reached out is deliver value. You know, we've been driving revenue. We've been helping webinar registrations increase. We've been doing this. So I put together this asset. Feel free to check it out. Anyways, thanks again for connecting. Hope it helps you out. And for him, it's been working like a charm. Like, the pattern interrupted video, I think, is huge. You're kind of circumventing that 160 character limit that Trey was talking about, and you're giving them something instead of asking. So Jeremy, I know this is still kind of in your park. What do you think of this tactic?
Yeah, I love it because, you know, especially I saw like the actual video when Marcus talks about this technique.
Yeah, I linked the article.
Yeah, he actually demos like him delivering, you know, what he actually says. And I think part of what makes it so good is Marcus is really good on video. Like he's done some practice. He's practiced it a lot. So, you know, that's one thing that sales reps will have to just, I think part of the execution here is, you know, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Like if you're like, oh, I don't want to be on video. Like I don't want to send them a video. Like you have to just get over it. Like you have to just like get past that fear and, you know, and just practice. Cause like Marcus's presentation, you know, he's really good on video. So just, you know, practice and don't get too stressed out about it. Don't get too worried about how your hair is going to look or, oh no, I'm going to be stupid. But like, yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good technique because, you know, it's delivering value. It says in there, it's a completely free piece of content. You know, you say the name of the asset and it's got to be relevant to that person, obviously, you know, but you can scale that though as well. You can scale it because you run a list of all VPs of sales, you know, that you know, or whatever your buyer persona is. You find a piece of content that your marketing team put out, you know, if they're doing their jobs right, you know, the marketing team should be putting out content that is relevant to your target buyers, you know, so it shouldn't be that hard to find that piece of content, you know, a blog post, you know, whatever, a recording of a webinar, and then you're able to send that, and it's making that deposit. I think we've already, you know, kind of touched on that earlier. You're making a deposit and giving some value up front without like making this hard ask. So that part of it is something I really like. And then lastly, one thing, you know, that sales reps have to just also figuring out on their own. One is balancing like practicing, getting good on camera with not like just practicing too much, like without worrying about it too much, but then also like script or no script. You know, this I think works really well. And when I saw Marcus do the video, I was like, okay, you know, he clearly is not reading from a script, but he's got it down. He's got it down. He's got it down where he's really good at delivering that without it sounding really like scripted. So sales reps have to just find that balance, like to maybe if you're a sales rep who's really new doing video, you script it and you're reading from the script, but you don't want to come across too like scripted and robotic. If the prospect can tell, so that's just something that sales reps have to work on. But once you got it down, then you're going to be crushing it and you're going to be killing it with a really good technique like this.
For sure. We are running short on time, so I do just want to jump into the next example and kind of finish things off because this person's actually also here live. So I want to give Julie a chance to shine a bit. So Alex, if you can cue her up. This is a bit of a different example because she actually created a whole animated video as part of her strategy for reaching out to her target audience. So I'll let her give a bit of context in terms of why she did this and what the whole point of it was. And obviously it's been working. So I'll let her dive into that too.
Hey, AJ, thanks.
Julia.
So yeah, thanks for having me on. I'll try to make it brief. I know we're short on time. So my client does marketing transformation. So really like entire go-to-market strategy, people, process, content, and technology. It's very complicated. And, I noticed that a lot of their materials were these just big blocks of text. It was just, like, we're special and people are going to figure that out. And I was like, no, that's not a thing. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen I should have brought this, the image of like MarTech and marketing services that looks like wallpaper.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like,
thousands of companies.
You are special. What they do is really cool, but I was like, but no one's going to know that. They're just going to see this. And they're not going to, you have 10 seconds. Like, they've mostly gotten a lot of their clients through referral. So they don't understand that when you talk to somebody who you don't know at all, you have 10 seconds before they go, yeah, I'm busy. So I decided, I thought, well, what they do is really cool. So I was like, you know what? I think though they need to start showing rather than telling. So I made this really as a proof of concept for that. So I exhibited in front of this is Powtoon, by the way. They don't pay me, but it was a great tool. I have this belief that everything, these days there's so much out there and there's so many people on the planet, almost everything that you need exists. So I was like, I need this. It probably exists. And there it was. And so, yeah, I made this, I presented it to their marketing team and to the CEO, and they were like, wow, yeah, like, this is really great. And, they just started to redo some of their marketing stuff with their own branded cartoons. So I think they're probably going to maybe use some of this framework, but like, redo it for their brand. But the CEO was like, well, let's just start sending this out now. Let's just see what happens. And so I work within a number of different verticals, but one of them is entertainment and media. And I noticed that especially in that vertical, visuals really hit home. I got a lead with Entercom. I don't know if you guys know them. They own a lot of radio stations all around the country. I also got a nod from the Madison Square Garden group, which they're obviously in no position right now, considering what's going on. But once they are, I am so calling that guy back, and I'm still nurturing him. But yeah, this was just something I did that was like, I know this isn't my job, but I just have a vision, and I'm on the front lines, and I have information that some people who aren't on the front lines may not have. So I'm going to just stick my neck out and offer this. And I'm really glad I did. I think the CEO kind of summed it up just in saying that it was sort of thought leadership. Just like, this is a different way to think about our company and how we get that message out.
Awesome. So I'll link the video for people because I don't want to show it here, but I'll link it in the follow-up. And Colin, just real quick, I know we're kind of over time at this point, but let me know, thoughts, yay or nay. How do you feel?
Yeah, so a couple of things I love from it. So I think it's a little bit different scenario for you because you're doing it on behalf of maybe a potential client and you're taking the initiative. But even for SDRs, like I feel like so often SDRs feel like they're at the bottom of the totem pole, and then leadership is making decisions, and then we sit here and we just complain about those decisions. It's like what I learned from this, like take initiative to like bring something to the table, and like oftentimes one, leadership when it's coming from the trenches, they're like, actually that makes a lot of sense. And two, you build a really good brand with leadership when you're the one saying, hey, what if we tried this and brought that to the table? So just like the initiative is like something I respect so much. Really, really good. Also, when I watch the video, your first like 45 seconds, all you're doing in the video is getting them to connect with the problem of saying, here's how marketers usually feel. And like, there's so much of getting them to say, yeah, I definitely feel that way. I definitely feel that way. And then at the end, you're like, yeah, we fix that. like it's really simple. I really, really liked how you built the use case in the beginning to make them attached to it. Only feedback I would have is at least for a prospecting email where you're getting them to open it and watch it, a minute, 45 seconds, 2 minutes is really, really long to keep someone's attention. So how can we pack the entire message into maybe 45 seconds? And then how can we add a human in there to present that message at scale rather than it just being a video? Make that person be like, I can't believe that person took the time to make this video, but you're just repeating the message over and over again. But for the SDRs out there, but yeah, really, really good.
Awesome. So we are over time. I will unfortunately have to cut everyone off. We had a couple more examples that we won't get to, but don't fret because I will actually be packaging all of this up into a guide and sending it to everyone who registered. So you not only get this presentation, the recording, but you're going to get some of the insight into why these examples worked and sort of what the panelists thought as a follow-up asset. So thank you again for attending. If you guys are interested, we do stuff like this on SD Revolution often in terms of helping SDRs level up their email game. Grayson actually co-hosts a show we do every Monday, SD Rescue, where he critiques and boosts up some cold emails that get sent our way. So we do stuff like this all the time. Feel free to get involved. We've got a LinkedIn page. Go ahead and follow us there. And then if you want to, you can become a member of our community and join our Slack and get instant access to insights like this on a daily basis. So I would highly encourage that you all do that as I follow up with you after the event with all that information. But Grayson, I don't know if you had any last words you wanted to say, or if any of the panelists did as well before we wrapped all this up.
No, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who did join, and we will follow up with this recording on our SD Rev YouTube. So I posted a link in the chats for anyone who wants to check that out. And please give a big thank you to Monica, to Jeremy, to Colin for taking the time out of their day to look at these different prospecting methods and really dig deep to try to find some good insights for everyone. So just bravo.
Awesome. Yeah, and panelists, if you guys have any last words, like by all means, use this time.
Thank you. I would say one thing too, if there are AEs on the call or listening to this at any point, prospecting is not just a job for an SDR. I used to love sitting with the SDRs when we were in the actual office at Sales Loft, and I learned so much from Dana, Lark. I remember doing almost everything she was doing. There's just so much innovation that's happening at the front lines, and the role of an SDR is so hard, so much respect, but we all have that role. And so as an account executive, I hate to hear, I'm not an SDR, I don't do that. We all do this. This is our job. So thank you so much, AJ. Thank you. This is just such a cool opportunity. Thank you, Grayson.
Yeah, and I would just add that these were some really good ideas and techniques that everybody shared. I've learned some stuff myself, and yeah, and like the biggest thing is that we're raising the bar here. Like it's all about having the prospect, when they see that message, not get this like weird icky feeling like, oh geez, like this is just terrible, like this isn't relevant to me, like this is just a garbage email, just delete. Like you're just giving them a different buying experience. You're just making them give a different impression about you as a person, your company, and just sales reps in general. So every time that you reach out, whether it's a call, email, LinkedIn message, you're able to do all these things. So not only can you give them a better buying experience, but as you can see from a lot of these examples, with some different ways, you can scale it as well. All these are all pretty scalable ideas too. So yeah, hopefully everybody learned something, and I know I did as well. So thanks everybody for being on.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of that. Honestly, when I read through these last night, I literally was like, why don't we do something like messaging? We should definitely use and so no, really enjoyed this type of webinar, and look forward to maybe any like this in the future.
Yeah, hopefully this isn't the last one we do. Yeah, thanks again, all the panelists. You guys have been awesome. This has been a great experience. Hopefully not just you guys learned something, but the audience, you guys learned something as well. Again, totally encouraged to steal these ideas, use them for your own benefit. And I'll follow up with that guide and all this recording stuff after. But thanks again, everyone, for popping on, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.